Last week, I discussed my experience at D-Now 2018. I mentioned that I got closer with my friends at church. Unfortunately, it would be revealed that these friends were fakes, as I found out at the next trip we went to, that being Fuge. However, I tried to bring back our relationship and try to make friends with everyone again. One way I attempted to do this was to go to the high school winter retreat at church. So that's what I did. Today, I'm going to be discussing my experience at Winter Retreat 2019. I'm Zach, and this is Storytime 13 on March 26 in 2021. And before I start, I should note that if you'll hear like anything in the background, that's rain. It's right now raining pretty heavily where I'm at, so just be aware of that. So like the past two story times, I'm going to answer this question: what the hell is a winter retreat? So this is a trip our church does every January during Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, where we normally take the church to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. This year, our church did something different. This time, it was exclusive to high schoolers. I was a freshman, meaning I was eligible to go. The reason they made this exclusive to high schoolers was because I think they wanted to get the high schoolers to become closer. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's why, so we'll say that's why. Anyways, I laughed at the decision when they made it, and I still laugh at it, as it was such a foolish and shitty decision. Not only that, but for me, it was counterproductive as well. My experience proved that, which I'll get to in a minute. So now, how this worked was that our church rented some big-ass cabin that can hold literally the entire church. I'll go into detail about the cabin a bit later, but I'll just say that it was massive for now. Anyways, it lasts from Saturday, January 19th to Monday, January 21st. So, and should note, since that was Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, we got out of that. We got out of school that day. So now let's go on to the backstory. So to start off, I want to briefly mention D-Now 2018 and Fuge. So I was already friends with everyone I roomed with, but I roomed with at D-Now, but I became even better friends with them during this trip. This would also be, of course, the trip I accepted Jesus, and then a month later, I got baptized. In June of 2018, I went to go on a trip called Fuge. It was a week-long trip, so I was expecting to get closer with everyone. However, that failed miserably. I ended up getting left out at this trip and realized that no, these people are not who they say they are. After the trip, they also seemed to stop really caring about me at church, too. So I was really upset. I attempted to try to restore my relationships with these people and try to, maybe have them think more of me, but that failed too. These people really didn't give a shit about me. However, our church announced that we were going to do winter retreat in January of 2019, and I decided to go because this might help us bond closer together. Unfortunately, therefore I signed up. Unfortunately, though, things didn't go so smoothly. Now let's reach the day of the trip, being January 19th, 2019. So I woke up around 6:30 that morning, and at around 7, we headed out into church. At church, we loaded the vans and headed on out. So now, I really want to discuss how the van situation worked. Now, as I've already mentioned countless times, I was left out. On this van, it was only like maybe 10 of us, as we had also used a bunch of other vans too. Nobody really invited me to sit with them, which I was pretty much expecting. Therefore, I saw one dude who wasn't sitting with anyone and asked him if I could sit beside him. Would he have said no? Probably. But was it really an option? No, so he let me sit beside him. I tried to talk to him, but he seemed to ignore me, so I really never met this guy, although he might have been a senior at the time of the trip. I'm not sure. And I should note that also, most of these people, I believe all of them people I was on the van with were friends, so like I basically had no chance of talking to anyone. Now, this was a 4-hour trip, as Pigeon Forge is a pretty long distance from Charlotte, so I was being cooped up in a single van for 1/6 of the day with my least favorite people. Yikes. Around the first hour, I attempted to try to talk to others, but nobody was really interested in me, so I gave up and just played Pokemon White 2 instead. So about 2 hours in, we reached Asheville. This city is where we take a lunch break, so we drove up to the mall and ate Chick-fil-A. Now, first off, this mall is absolutely massive. Like, it is extremely easy to get lost in. And then our youth leader allowed us to roam around the mall after eating. Yeah, you bet we were running around like faceless chickens. I got what I normally get from Chick-fil-A, a number 1. I can't really remember exactly who I sat with or where I sat, but I do remember we kind of were forced to sit together. Therefore, I was obviously sitting with a few people that clearly didn't want anything to do with me. So that was kind of awkward. Afterwards, I just toured the mall by myself. Didn't buy anything, though. So now that break time was over, time to finish the rest of the trip. We eventually reached Tennessee, and then reached Pigeon Forge soon after. Now, something to note is that it's January, so already it's really cold. But Pigeon Forge is up in the mountains, so when I say cold, I mean it was like less than 30 degrees throughout most of the trip. So yeah, it was freezing. Didn't snow up there, though. Now we reached the cabin we were going to stay at, and wow, it was massive. So this thing had like a billion bedrooms, 2 living rooms, a big-ass kitchen, a theater, a game room, 2 hot tubs, a pool, a gym, and I could go on. And yes, it was so massive that it was able to fit all the girls on the lowest floor, all the adults on the ground floor, and all the boys on the upper floor. Damn, that is massive. Now comes the time where we choose where are we going to sleep. Unfortunately, this situation ended up being another fuge. So the game room had a bunch of bunk beds. No rooms were left in the bedrooms, so I kind of had to sleep in the game room with like 16 others. This situation is what really made me realize, oh shit, this is going to be just like fuge. So I went here and tried to find a open bed I could use. All but one bed was open, and that bed was a top bunk. So I asked the dude on the bottom bunk if he was saving that bed for anyone, and he said he was saving it for someone. So I looked around more, and no available beds were there. Therefore, I just set my stuff down on the floor. I knew that this trip, just like Fuge, had no planning whatsoever in terms of room and board. I was just going to have to sleep on the floor for 2 very cold nights in front of 16 others. But that isn't actually what happened. So what happened was that my youth pastor came in and realized, oh god, this kid is going to sleep on the floor, and he got pretty nervous. Now, something I should note is that my youth pastor actually understands where I come from. He's probably the only person at youth who really even understands my struggle at all. Therefore, I don't really criticize him like I do with the youth, since he's pretty empathetic. He helped me with the rooming situation at Fuge, by the way, which he wasn't successful at it. I still appreciate that he tried. So now he actually went to that kid who slept on the bottom bunk and asked if he was saving the top bunk for anyone. And guess what he said? He said no. You asshole! Make up your damn mind! So that's basically where I slept. I mean, at least I ain't waiting by the door waiting for a roommate with a key to come in while everyone is looking at me wondering what this dumbass is doing. But it's still awful knowing this dude just didn't want anything to do with me. And you know what the crazy part is? I had never seen this dude in my life prior to the trip. Talk about a piece of shit. Like, you're such an asshole. Like, you don't have to talk to me the entire trip. I won't talk to you the entire trip if you don't want to. But don't be an asshole. So now this house was so massive, we basically did everything at the house. So the first thing we did, obviously, was pick beds, which I explained how that went, and then we basically had some free time. So now one thing I really liked about my youth pastor is that we are very similar. So he really likes video games, and he actually brought his Switch. This Switch would basically be used for anyone to play together. I think that was a good idea for everyone except me, since I'm the one left out. But for the others with friends, this was genius. So he asked me to help in hooking his Switch to the TV in one of the living rooms, and I think he chose the right guy. Not only do I have no friends, but I also am probably the best gamer at our church. So I did it, and we got it working. I didn't play on the Switch myself, since obviously I knew nobody wanted to play with me. I mean, that's a pretty accurate assumption. We've already seen how the youth thought of me, so why would they? But, I mean, at least I helped. Then came dinner. I don't even remember what I ate for dinner, but I do remember all of us at one very long table. I tried to find people to sit with, but it never worked out. Just like I've said before, I was left out and nobody gave a shit about me. So I just sat near the adults for all the meals, since they were, and still are, the only people who really care about me at youth. After dinner, we then had a Bible study. So the way this worked is that our youth had a praise band, and they performed every Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Youth. They went with us to winter retreat, and they played some songs at each of the 3 Bible studies. Then we had our lessons. Now, just like D Now and Fuge, I don't remember any of the lessons we did, so I won't discuss them, or I'll still be completely wrong. After Bible study, we then had the rest of the night as free time. Once again, I tried to talk to others, but it failed miserably. Of course, nobody wanted to talk to me either, since most of them were too busy with their friends. To me, it seems like our youth is made of cliques, which is probably why I get left out of everything. So after trying, I just gave up and took a shower. That night, though, that was really, let's just say, interesting. So when you put 16 teen boys in a single room, something stupid is bound to happen. And sure enough, something stupid did happen. So it was around 12 o'clock and all of us were in our beds. I mean, yeah, 12 o'clock is kind of early, but remember, we had a long trip up there, so we needed some rest. However, we weren't exactly ready to go to sleep, so the boys just talked. I didn't join in on the conversation, knowing I'd just be ignored like it always goes. But I did hear it, and wow, it was really stupid but hilarious. So I'm not sure how the conversation began or really much of anything about it, but I remember one event that was probably the dumbest shit ever. So I don't know what caused this, but a dude seemingly said in a joking way that he was going to go to the bathroom to beat his meat. I don't think I have to explain what that means, by the way. But no, he was dead serious. He went into the bathroom and freaking did it while all of us were joking and laughing. He then came out of the bathroom about 15 minutes later. Therefore, that bathroom was not used at all for the rest of the trip. I don't really know what to think about the situation, honestly. I don't know if this dude has balls because he let 15 other boys at church know he's going to masturbate, or if he's just plain stupid. He's probably just plain stupid. Oh well, the game room had 2 bathrooms, so we used the other one. But to be fair, if he had to announce it, he at least chose the best group to announce it to. If he told, let's say, someone not in high school or an adult, oh, his ass would have been kicked. And want to know what's so funny? I don't even remember who did it. Like, it was so dark there, and it's been a little over 2 years, so I don't even remember who did what. All I remember was that it happened. So now it's Sunday, January 20th, 2019. To start our day, we had breakfast. I remember absolutely nothing from this breakfast. All I remember was that after breakfast, we didn't have Bible study. It was just like Saturday night Bible study. Afterwards, we didn't have some free time. So throughout free time, I once again attempted to talk to others, and it failed, as always, so I just played video games during this time. Then around noon, we had lunch. And I'll just say, I don't remember anything about any meal, so I'm not going to mention the rest. But after lunch, we then hit the road to do some quote-unquote fun stuff. I said fun stuff in quotes because it's really hard to have fun with a group when you are left out. That's kind of what happened here. We went go-kart racing, and we were split into different groups. I was within a certain group that really didn't want anything to do with me, just like literally every other group. But being left out was not the only thing bad about this. I mentioned earlier that Pigeon Forge was really cold. Like, I'm pretty sure that it was like 22 degrees at this time, and I don't think go-kart racing was a good idea. After we got done, I could barely feel my own hands, and I was just freezing cold in general. I brought gloves, but those didn't stop me from getting so cold. So I was pretty miserable doing this. Not only was I left out, but I was also freezing cold. Damn, I was miserable. So now, when we were getting back to the van, one dude apparently made a bet that saying that he'd pay this kid $20 if he jumped into a lake right by where we went go-karting. It seemed like a foolish thing to do, as it was really cold and it was about 30 minutes away from the cabin. But no, this kid actually did it. He literally dove into the lake in 22 degrees weather. Yeah, that happened. He didn't get in any trouble though, as the youth pastor thought it was so funny. And I agree, I think it was really funny too. Jumping into a lake in such cold weather takes some huge balls to do, and clearly that kid has the balls to do it. And yes, he also got the $20. And now we get back to the cabin, and when we had some free time until an announcement was made. So for Sunday night, we were going to have a Bible study together. However, instead we were going to go to a concert as a last-minute decision. I'm not sure who it was we saw, but it was really cool. It was really fun, mostly because I forgot I was left out for like 3 hours. Then there was a speaker who had a lesson for us. We didn't get back to our cabin till like 10. Afterwards, we then settled back to the cabin and hung out. That night, nothing strange happened. All I really did was try to talk to others for the last time, and then that failed. So afterwards, I took a shower and went to sleep. Now it's Monday, January 21st, 2019. This would be the day we went home, and thank God, I had enough of this trip and was ready for it to be over. So we ate breakfast and then had our final Bible study. Afterwards, we packed a van and headed back to Charlotte. Interestingly, I don't recall any time we stopped on the way back. So it was a pretty smooth ride, and then we made it back home. So now I'm done discussing the trip. How about we talk about the aftermath? So as mentioned previously, this trip was an absolute failure. I was left out, did not enjoy myself, and overall felt like I was just an inconvenience to everyone else. But there were still good times. Like the dude who jumped into the river, that was pretty funny. But for the most part, this trip sucked and just awful. I'd even argue that it was worse than Fuge. In fact, this trip was so bad, I'd literally try to forget that this even happened. At least with Fuge, I'm okay remembering some things, but this, hell no. It was just that awful. But every time I try to forget this trip, I just keep remembering it, which is how I'm making this video. And also with Fuge, after being left out, I at least thought I could make up with everyone in my grade. However, Winter Retreat told me that no. These are not my friends. These are a bunch of assholes. And my thing is, I probably could have enjoyed this trip had I not been left out. Could have been just like it's just like Fuge. If I was not left out, I probably would have enjoyed it, but no. After this trip, I decided to make myself a promise that I will never attend another church trip or event. This is how awful Winter Retreat 2019 was. So far, I have kept that promise. However, in a month, I will be breaking that promise. I already decided to do DNOW 2021 this year, and I'm really excited about it. I've already made arrangements with my youth pastor that I will never be around anyone my grade for the entire event. Instead, I'll be with a freshman. I have a friend who is a freshman, why I chose to be with the freshman. Unlike Fuge and Winter Retreat, I don't think I'll get out at DNOW 2021. As remember, I'm with a friend who actually knows my story. He knows how big of assholes my grade is, so I think he's going to do his best to make sure I'm included. That's why I'm really hyped for DNOW 2021. It will take place between April 23rd and April 25th. I'll also be doing a story time for DNOW 2021 on April 30th, so stay tuned for that. Now let's backtrack a little. So as mentioned earlier, my goal of Winter Retreat 2019 was to try to make up with everyone. That failed miserably, but I still continued trying at Sunday school. I tried hard, but it didn't work out. So in around May of 2019, I began isolating myself from every student at church. I mean, if they leave me out, I might as well just leave myself out of everything. They really don't care. What's so funny is that some of the boys who left me out at Winter Retreat actually tried to talk to me now. Oh yeah, because now that I've already given up, you want to talk. I ain't a dumbass. Y'all blew y'all's chance at Fuge, Winter Retreat, and Sunday School. Should've talked to me when y'all had the chance, bitch. So yeah, I should note that I actually isolated myself from everyone, not just my grade. However, I'd stop isolating myself from everyone except my grade around November. I'd stop isolating myself from everyone except my grade around November of 2020 after a friend passed away. I became friends with a freshman and I should note that that freshman is also the freshman I'm going to be paired up with for DNOW this year. I still isolate myself from the other juniors since they're a bunch of fakes. So that's all I have for today's story time. Hope you guys did enjoy. Next week on April 2nd, 2021, I'll be talking about Floppy. Anyways, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!